The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Step outside of your comfort zone. See the world with a whole new perspective. Join us and experience the unexplained on the Paranormal View.
And welcome, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. Those listening in the chat room and those listening from around the world, we appreciate each and every one of you. I might have kind of started just a second too early right there, but we got everything else in. So tonight we got some great guests we'll be talking with here in just a little bit. And we have, if you have questions tonight, you can private chat them to either Ceiling Cat or myself, and we will get those answered for you. If you're listening from somewhere around the world, you can still send us questions if you'd like to theparanormalview@gmail.com, and we will get those answered for you. And if you'd like to come over and listen in the chat room, it's at the Paranormal View. I'm sorry. It's at ParaXRadioNetwork.com and click on the Chat Now button. So you'll be in with all these wonderful people then, and you'll be able to interact with us also. Jeff is not with us tonight. He is working at a new job, so probably a few Saturdays here and there he will not be able to be with us. But as soon as he can, he'll be back here with us. And until then, we always have Barbara Duncan.
Yep, I'm in here.
All right. And we got a couple of great guests tonight.
Yes, we do.
You know, that sound might be us talking and the microphone picking us up, sending it back. I could be what
very
that
well be.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you go ahead and introduce our guests?
Okay, I'll do that. Tonight we have returning guests with us, Brian and Terri Seech. They are with the Center for Unexplained Events. And that group investigates and researches everything under the unexplained umbrella, from UFOs and aliens to ghosts and cryptids and all kinds of strange phenomena, including light anomalies. They're a research group dedicated to the investigation and documentation of paranormal phenomena within western Pennsylvania and the adjacent portions of Ohio, West Virginia, and Maryland. Their mission is to explore all anomalous phenomena, and that's not limited to just UFOs and cryptids, ghostly phenomena, and other events of high strangeness. And this is very interesting. You're also a no-kill group, which goals is to find enough evidence through non-invasive means, and I love that concept. Thank you very much, and welcome, Brian Seech and Terri Seech.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, no problem. Glad you can come with us. It's been a little while since we've had you on before, and we was talking, I think, a lot about Bigfoot at that particular time also.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met you at the, I believe it was the, at Hillview Manor when there was a convention there. We talked to you before.
Yes, that was probably where it was at. Let's see here. Let me try this. All right.
So does that, have you gone to then see, to say, like the Mothman Festival? And
Yes.
have you investigated that?
Well, Terry and I have been there, probably, I think I've been there 5 times. I think you've been there 4. You were there once less than me. We were last there, I think, on the 50th anniversary. I believe that was 2 years ago. We will be back there this year. And I will be speaking there this year.
Okay. both of y'all are using the microphone that's on the laptop, right?
Yes.
Okay. It'll only pick up one talking at a time, so don't both try to say something because it'll garble everything up. That's the way laptop mics are. And I know Barbara had a whole bunch of stuff that she was wanting to know. And we was talking a little bit off the air. You do a lot of Bigfoot research. Where are some of the areas that you have been out researching and looking for Bigfoot?
Yeah, we mainly research in Pennsylvania. We also do a lot of our research right across the border. We live in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. The county adjacent to us is Columbiana County, Ohio. There's a state park there called Beaver Creek State Park. We've done a lot of research there. We actually sponsored a Bigfoot Day down at the Pioneer Village in Beaver Creek State Park a couple years ago, 2 years ago. But the majority of our research still is, Pennsylvania, Westmoreland, up in Newcastle and Butler counties in Pennsylvania.
Now that's heavily wooded area, right?
Yes. Some counties are a little bit more wooded than others, but people, I think, get a misconception of Pennsylvania that it's heavily populated. It really isn't. Most of Pennsylvania has several big cities like Pittsburgh, Philly, in Erie and Harrisburg, and the rest of it is basically rural. There's villages and communities. I believe the stat is 10% or 90% of the population live in 10% of the land areas. It's something similar to that. So Pennsylvania is heavily wooded, a lot of mountains. There's a Chestnut Ridge, which runs from Indiana County down into West Virginia, is the focal point of most of the Bigfoot sightings in Pennsylvania.
So have you ever actually spotted one, or what kind of evidence have you come across?
Unfortunately, I've never seen one. That's why I'm in it. That's why we're in it. We would like to be able to only, to prove to ourselves that these creatures are real. Terry and I found a print along with the PA Bigfoot Society in 2002 in Westmoreland County. There was one big print and one small print. One print that was 14 inches, and right next to it was a small print that was 7 inches. We've heard some strange noises in the woods. One rock thrown at us down at Beaver Creek. We've been uncomfortable several times in the woods, but as far as any sightings, unfortunately, that has eluded us.
And with everybody, or a lot of people, I should say, goes out really looking for Bigfoot, I don't think anybody's actually captured one, and nobody's ever actually found a body. There's a lot of different theories as to why, but do you think that they might be connected with UFOs?
Well, there are certain theories. Pennsylvania has actually a long history of encounters with UFOs seen in conjunction with Bigfoot sightings. Are they totally connected? There are some well-known cases where there was a UFO landed and the creatures were seen nearby. Some people think that they may just, they may be interdimensional. They can somehow phase between dimensions. Maybe they're just an animal like a bear. A lot of different theories until somebody actually finds one dead or captures one, and we don't advocate killing one by any means. Only then will you be able to prove, its actual existence.
Well, I don't think they've ever even come across bones of one, have they?
To the best of our knowledge, no one has come across any Bigfoot bones. Now, it's kind of a caveat with that is we don't know what's in the Smithsonian Institution. There's always been rumors that there's some skeletons and some things there, actually even skeletons of giants that they even have that they just don't bring public. So, but to the best of my knowledge, there's never been any bones of a Bigfoot that's found or it's been found and spoken about publicly, I should say.
It's interesting that you bring that up because you're the first researchers, I think I've heard of the cryptos anyway, that have brought up the Smithsonian Institute and its collections. Because I know that there are Native American tales, especially in the Northeast, about giants that lived in caves up there.
Yes, there have been. And they have found bones of giants, or what they assume to be giants, but they seem to scoop them away and hide them.
For some reason, for some unknown reason, you can go back and look at old newspaper articles and you can see, bodies of giants found, and all of a sudden, the Smithsonian will come in and they're gone. I mean, where did they go? Did they just, put them in their vault, in the Smithsonian or wherever else they may keep them? It almost seems as for some reason there's kind of like a cover up of giants, and I really can't see why.
Interesting. How far back are you researching this?
It's 1900s. You can even probably just type it in on the internet and you'll see articles will come up about giant bones and skeletons found. Even in Beaver County, they found some giant skeletons, and that's the county we live in. So
those are humanoid, so they couldn't be mistaken for Bigfoot bones, could they? Well,
most of them, they are human, but they're just of gigantic size. 8, 9, 10 foot tall.
Wow. Okay.
And you say they kind of like put them out of sight to where they don't want to talk about it, they don't want people to know about it?
Yeah, they go missing for some reason, right?
Yeah, they don't want to publicly display them. They don't want to publicly talk about them. I guess it has something to do with the history of, they don't want to change history. They want to keep the status quo.
That's wild. Oh, you're up in Pukwudgie country too, aren't you?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You're up in Pukwudgie country too, aren't you?
Pukwudgies,
yeah.
Well, yeah, we've heard of the legend of the Pukwudgies, the little creatures. We actually here we have stories of in Butler County of the Butler gnome. There's actually even a picture of it on the if you type in Butler gnome, you'll see a picture. We've actually talked to the gentleman whose property that's on. It's up in Butler County, and if you look on 2 photographs, there looks like there is what you would consider a small gnome. It had a little hat on. It was taken from a deer cam. 2 pictures, and we really did try to get on that property and research it, but we weren't allowed to get on there, at least for now. We're still going to try to get up there and try to do some research on it, but I know my wife Terry researches a lot on the gnomes and the little people.
If this is the first I've heard of it, can you describe it a little bit more, what you know?
If you would take, they're small, 3 to 4 foot tall,
or even smaller.
They tend to wear clothes, right? I mean, they have clothes on them. Some wear hats. It's what else is it? They're in what do you call it, the Fae realm?
Right.
Yeah, they're connected to the fairy and the Fae realm. They're also considered nature spirits.
Yeah. Okay. And you've is the gentleman who spotted them still own the property?
Yes, he's still on that property, and he has deer cams up, and he catches all kind of wildlife. Some of the best deer and bear bear pictures I've ever seen. I mean, but since that time, I still keep in contact with them, and so far nothing since that. And I think it's been about 4 or 5 years ago now. It's been a little while since this happened. So
okay, so this is a very recent event. Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. Because those little critters, you wonder exactly just how prevalent it is, especially up in the wooded areas where there's bound to be a lot of vegetation and food for them, and no way for most humans to be able to see them because it's not that populated up there.
Right. There's rural, and I believe I don't know how many acres it is, but it's a really wooded, where the picture was taken. It's just one path, and it's a really heavily wooded area.
So, how many reports do they usually get of Bigfoot sightings there or other creatures?
yeah, in Butler County, there's been Bigfoot sightings in that general area. There's also they were seeing this creature that they call the Chikora gargoyle, and this is a winged entity, which you picture what a typical gargoyle looks like, and that's what this thing looks like. A gentleman by the name of Dan Hagman in 2011, he started receiving reports up there about people riding around a place called Kepler's Corners up in East Brady, Chikora. This creature was seen crossing the road. We did an investigation on one of his with him, and this creature was standing beside a road sign. The eyewitness was coming towards him. The lights on his vehicle caught this creature, and it actually turned and it crossed the road in 3 steps. And we took a picture of where the sign was, and we measured the sign, and I believe it was about 8 foot tall. And this creature crossed the road. We even measured that road from berm to berm, and it was 33 feet. So this creature had about an 11-foot stride. Went from one side of the road from the woods to the other patch and to the other side. Don't know what this creature is. We've also researched other winged entity sightings in Pennsylvania.
Without, you say it's winged creature. Would that be something like the Mothman?
Yeah, it did have wings. It did not look like the Mothman. The Mothman basically, it had wings. The Mothman had red glowing eyes. Didn't really have a neck. The head went right down on its body. This thing had a neck. It had a head that looked like it was an aerodynamic bicycle helmet. It was grayish. It had wings that wrapped around its body. And the interesting thing is this creature and another creature that was seen in Allentown in 93, they had legs that were bent backwards. And when it walked, they said it almost looked like a chicken, which was kind of weird. And when we first saw the drawing in 2011, I got goosebumps down my arm. I'm like, I saw this picture before, a drawing. And this drawing was in an old Bigfoot newsletter. And it's the exact same thing. If you put them next to each other, it's the exact same creature. And one was taken in 93 and the other one was taken in 2011. And I'm trying to remember the distance between Allentown and Chikora would probably be maybe 100 miles. So you're talking maybe 100 miles, and that would be how many years? That would be 18 years later. So yeah, these creatures are seen. They've been seen in Ohio, all across the country. Some of these we refer to them as winged entities.
And that's something you don't really hear a lot about in cryptozoology is winged creatures. And there seems to be several different categories of them. I mean, you're describing more what seems like a lizard like creature more than, say, a Mothman, which is more mammalian. Does that sound right?
I don't know about lizard-like, bat-like, giant bat-like. They are, some people have mistaken them for people until they got up close and they saw the wings. It's like a humanoid body, but with giant wrapping around them. Pennsylvania has other winged, animals that we call thunderbirds. We actually, 2 weeks ago, we received a report in the Independence Township area, which isn't too far. How far would you say it's from us? Maybe 6-7 miles, maybe something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And the lady said that she was driving and she saw this huge bird. It was really weird the way it flapped its wings in slow motion. She said it was bigger than any bird she ever saw, and when she drew it, it almost looked like, I hate to say it almost looked like a pterodactyl from the dinosaur age. They're seeing all across Pennsylvania, up on the Chestnut Ridge in Mercer County and Erie. We talked to a gentleman. He had a sighting up in Erie, close to Lake Erie, Erie County, and I can't explain it. I mean, it would be hard to fathom that these things are still living. Could they be some kind of a time slip or something like that? Could, somehow it actually be a pterodactyl that did a time slip somehow, which we don't know about. Again, I don't know. It's all speculation, but these are some of the reports that myself and other researchers received.
Now, are those areas very sparsely populated?
No, they're the one in Independence. There's houses there. There's some. They're not right up against. There's a lot of woods there. Don't get me wrong. In all these areas, there's a lot of woods there, but it's not like it's out in the Pacific Northwest either. So you do have houses around.
Farmland.
Farmland, yeah.
Well, now, did they see any of these actually flying, or they were just like running across the road?
Well, the last one we took 2 weeks ago, it was flying. We received another big bird report at the beginning of the month, and this one could have been a mistaken identity of a turkey vulture, one of our bigger birds in Pennsylvania. It was said to be eating from a deer carcass. Now, to go on the skeptical side too, he said, it looked like it had red eyes, but then he said, well, he knows that a turkey vulture has a red head, and it was early in the morning, so maybe his car lights, hit the side of its head, and the eyes appeared red when they really weren't. Now, this bird wasn't nearly as big as the other one that was flying. So, could that one be a case of mistaken identity? He did draw it. It kind of does look like a turkey vulture, so it's one of those. Well, that one could possibly be explained.
Yeah, I've seen those birds. They are big.
Wow.
And they pretty much will eat anything.
So when's the last time you say it was 2 weeks ago that you was out looking for something?
Well, we did check on this sighting 2 weeks ago. We just drove out to the area and drove around to see if we could see anything. The last time we were on another investigation with Bigfoot was wow. Can you help me out there? It's been a little while. Remember?
Didn't you go with John? Was that in January or?
Yeah, I went with it was Fred.
Yeah.
In Washington County, I was with my good friend Fred Saluga, checking out a case in. It was the beginning. It happened at I think the third week of November. By the time we got the report, we investigated it at the beginning of December, and basically the story goes is a gentleman was out raccoon hunting in Washington County on a state game lands, and he claims he had several dogs with him, and they basically ran back towards him, and they were whimpering, and he looks up, and he sees this giant shadow of a creature with red eyes coming towards him. So he claims that he shot 3 times, and he hit it twice, and he heard a thump, that he hit it. He said the creature stopped, and it let out a roar, and behind him another creature came with red eyes. So he claims that he backed up into the creek. He had big boots on, and then him and the dog crossed the creek, and the creatures they were just staring at him. So by the time we got down there, obviously it was 3.5 weeks later. We didn't find any evidence that the creature had been. If there was any creatures there, we didn't see the shells or anything. And further on down, though, one of the gentleman that came with us kind of found an imprint, which we did put a little bit of powder in, and it kind of looks like a foot, but it's not detailed enough to say for sure that it was a footprint. You know what I mean? So, the gentleman was adamant what happened and, what he saw and he shot at, but unfortunately there was no solid evidence to back that up.
Now, are these sightings in the daytime or at nighttime?
This one was at nighttime. It was about 1 a.m. And a lot of the sites you get on Bigfoot, they're at night. There's sometimes some in there in the day. One of the most common is these creatures will just be crossing the road as someone's driving, and they get a brief glimpse of it crossing the road, and then they report it to us or another researcher, or they'll give it to us, things like that.
Well, that brings up a good point because, gathering evidence-wise and investigating crypto sightings, do you actually go out into the field? Do you camp out there? Do you try to do plaster castings of footprints or DNA gathering evidence?
Yeah, we always I actually have a vest, which I carry plaster with me. I'll carry powder, plaster. We have an evidence, a little evidence kit. I have tweezers. We have an envelope in there if we find anything. We try to go out. We usually try to go out on 2 or 3 expeditions, like a year, camp outs or whatever. The last one was I think it was last year. Or if we get a sighting that's very, very recent and that on a property and the eyewitness allows us to come out, then we'll go out at night on their property. There's so much of the property anymore is private property, and you're not allowed to go on it at night. So
pretty much, yeah. Not without like an overnight permit or something like that,
or permission from the landowner.
Yeah. And this is a question I've always wanted to ask anybody because I don't know if it's even been tried. Has anybody actually tried to set up some sort of a net trap or a snare type of trap, not harming any of these cryptid creatures, but to actually capture a live one?
I'm sure there has been. I'm sure that if there are some researchers out there, they're not talking about doing that. So most of the researchers that we know, they're trying to capture some video of it or some pictures, or trying to find evidence or have a sighting themselves. But as far as capturing it, none of the researchers that I know have done that.
Nice. Good. I can see where that would make them rather angry. But I like the approach of just trying to gather as much physical evidence, be it via video or photograph or even DNA evidence. Seems to be a little bit easier to gather, since you're not looking a creature in the face and facing any sort of physical danger. Have you ever felt like you've been in physical danger on an investigation?
No, not really, but one time out at Salt Fork State Park out in Ohio, we were there during the Bigfoot conference. We had gone out at night to an area, it's called the handicapped area, that's known for people to sit and do some research there. We had gotten out of our car and immediately we felt a heaviness in the air, like something was there, something was watching us. And there was 3 of us and we all felt it at the same time. As we walked towards the shelter where the rest of our group was, we had asked them about it and everybody said yes. It just, everybody felt it at the same time. And shortly after that, Brian and our friend Dave had walked along the perimeter of the wood line to see if they could see anything. And shortly after them returning to the shelter, it was like a switch was turned off, that the heaviness was gone, it was lifted, and everybody felt like they can breathe again. It was just a very eerie feeling that something was near.
Whoa, Terry, did you smell anything?
It was a definite intense feeling too, because we've been out with other of our members out, in the middle of the woods and other places, and we felt nothing. Just a beautiful night in the woods. You're looking up at the stars. Not this night. Especially when we got back to the shelter, like she said, as soon as we got there, everybody said something's off tonight. They all felt it, and there was about 6 more there, so it was about 9 of us that felt it, and just as like she said, Terry says, we walked the perimeter. We had Dave had his night vision. I had my parabolic mic. We didn't see anything. We didn't smell anything, but boy, you felt it. But just as soon as, after we walked the perimeter, we went back to the shelter. It was like somebody flipped the light switch, and it was like, oh, wow, the woods are nice again. And that experience has happened to many researchers. You can feel it, and they'll tell you it's real. They say, these creatures could use infrasound, and that makes you very uncomfortable. Tigers use it. Elephants use it to communicate through long distances. And they claim that's what these creatures may be able to do, and you can feel it. It's a very, very uneasy, very unsettling thing if it happens to you.
And Barbara, they didn't hear the question that you asked.
Oh, well, were there any other physical sensations? Did you smell anything? Did you hear anything, even like a low hum?
Nothing. I had my parabolic mic out, and no, but boy, you sure as heck felt like there was something watching you. It was, and again, we, none of us really spook easy because we've been in the woods and, with other researchers too. And, you just felt it. And the only other time I guess would have been close was last year when we went to Venango County and a bunch of us were walking down a trail and I stopped, I felt something, and our friend Leah, she's a sensitive, I guess you'd call it. We both looked at each other and I said, is there something here? And she says, yeah, something's watching us. But it was not even as intense, but it was enough to say, it seems like there's something there. Mm-hmm. But all the other times in the woods, nothing. So it does make you think, if they can use infrasound, they don't want you there. Any other time, if they're just watching, curious. Other researchers will tell you the same thing. We're not going to tell you anything different. And but most researchers will have a story to tell, or some have heard growls. We've heard. We talked about that Beaver Creek State Park in 2012. We heard that Ohio howl. If you would go to the BFRO website and type in Ohio howl, you'll hear a long, drawn-out howl. Now, we heard that in Beaver Creek State Park. And where that sound came from, we were also on that property about 4 or 5 years before that. That's in Wellsville, Ohio. And the gentleman invited some members of the PBS, the PA Bigfoot Society, which I was a member. And we went out there and we investigated the property. And which most people don't know is he also has a videotape of a creature. He had basically an infrared light out, and he had a basket with some fruit, I believe. Was this some fruit or something in the basket? And if you look off to the right of the picture or the video, and you see this hand slowly come around the tree, and you see a face come out, just like a part of the face, and it bobs its head up in the air like it's sniffing. And then all of a sudden the head goes back real stealthily, and so does the hand. Now, the hand and the face were lit up white, okay, because it was in infrared. And boy, it almost seemed like that wasn't, that was a real animal. It wasn't somebody in a mask or something, especially the way it moved, real fluid and real stealthy. And it wasn't out there long, and it just went back in. And that's where the original Ohio howl came from. So we have not been back since. We've been getting the urge to contact this gentleman again and go back and see if there's anything happening on the property.
See, that's about did anybody that night ever pull out an EMF detector and see if that maybe there was something else going on there, like not necessarily crypto, but possibly UFO?
That night, no. Nobody had EMF meters. But, I do like the thought on that. There's certain. Let's say that this creature is interdimensional, or if it could slip in and out, maybe it came for that short period of time and then it left. We always say, okay, if it is some kind of an interdimensional entity or whatever you want to call it, would it need energy? Would it produce energy going in and out? We also researched this dogman phenomenon, and we found that a lot of the some of the sightings we get, these creatures are near or going into a power substation. Now, why would a werewolf-like type creature entity need to go close to a power station or run by it, or one ran underneath the fence to get to one of these places, the other ran towards one, and they somehow draw power out of that. They go in and out because there's a power substation there. I don't know. It's also a weird phenomenon.
Well, yeah, you think that most animals, at least, that high. I mean, if you've ever been around a power station, there's a lot of EMF, and it's very evident what it is. Most animals would stay away from that rather than run towards it.
Yes.
Oh.
Unless it had some sort of a hiding place around there.
Yeah, we don't know.
Well, now, one question before we take a break. Has anyone ever found any remains or bones of one of these winged creatures?
To the best of my knowledge, no. I do like to say that because we don't know everything. We don't know if there's maybe, say a researcher has. Maybe they don't want anybody else to know about it. Some people say, well, if it's a government thing, maybe the government, they're monitoring it, and if somebody would come across bones or something, they would come and take it from you anyway. So, to the best of my knowledge, no. And it's about as honest of an answer as I could give.
Well, I know that with feral pigs anyway, they'll munch everything. They'll munch the bones down too. So you're not going to see them. I don't know if there's that kind of population of feral pigs back there, but you might not find them.
You mean like wild boars?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Pennsylvania has a lot of wild boars, especially out towards the east. They're starting to come. They're in Butler. They're starting to come out west here, out western Pennsylvania too. So yeah, we have them.
I think.
Well, that kind of it brings up the danger of camping looking for Bigfoot. Is they usually travel in packs and are not very friendly.
No. I think what we're going to do is go ahead and take us a quick break. Excuse me. And we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. So, Barbara, you want to take us out?
If I can unmute my mic, yes. Folks, you're listening to the Paranormal View here on ParaX Radio with our guest tonight, Brian and Terri Seech. And we will be right back after a few messages.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making ParaX part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, ParaX.
And welcome back, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight, those in the chat room and those from around the world. We appreciate it. And speaking of those from around the world, Barbara, where do we have listeners at tonight?
Henry, they're coming in tonight from the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Belgium, and Singapore.
All right. Excuse me. Wow. We want to welcome back Brian and Terri Seech. You guys still with us, right?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, we're.
All right, we're glad you're still hanging around and one of them Bigfoots didn't get you. Now, we Barbara, have you got any more questions you want to ask on Bigfoot right now?
Not at the moment.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about paranormal investigating. You guys also do paranormal investigations.
Yeah, we started doing in the very beginning with paranormal investigations. We've kind of put that aside for right now. We might be getting back into it, but we've gone to the Greene County Historical Society. We've gone to Hillview Manor, Fort Pitt Museum. Where else?
The
local cemeteries. The Vickery Mansion. We've investigated with a ghost group that meets over there. Proof Paranormal Research Organization of Freedom, PA.
One in Bedford.
We've done some private homes also. And John Bonet in Bedford County.
I've heard of that place. I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, we stayed. When was that? Last July. We stayed there and we did our own little investigation, just the two of us at night. Pretty interesting.
And you've been to places like Gettysburg?
Yeah, we have. Yes.
Lots of nice little places there. If you ever get to go back to Gettysburg, drop in Mr. G's Ice Cream.
We will.
We've done our show from there probably, 3 or 4 times. And yes, it is haunted.
Yeah. The battlefield's very intense, too. You can feel it.
It is, yes. I've got some things from there also. Hillview Manor. How'd you like that place?
That was pretty cool. We first went there with Patty Wilson. She was invited to come in before they opened it up to the public. So we went with her. And then we took our own group there. Oh, it was in August, huh? I don't remember what year it was, but it was a hot August night. And we did an investigation with our group. And we were probably one of the few groups that got up to the top of the roof because they don't allow that anymore. That was interesting. With our group, we had split up to the different floors, and somebody was on the 3rd floor, and somebody caught a whistle on the recorder that they had, but nobody in the group was whistling. So that was interesting.
There was some kind of something in the cellar too, remember?
There's an entity in the cellar there.
Yeah, there's a couple of them down there, yeah. I know, excuse me, on the, I think it's the 3rd floor where the caretaker's apartment was. I guess they had their own little bedroom, living room, and like a bathroom. My son and Carrie was in the bathroom and asking questions, and I'd been down the hall just a little bit, and I was coming back, walking down the hall to the bathroom there in the room, and all of a sudden I heard 2 big stomps, boom, boom, and they both come running out of the bathroom and said, "Did you see anybody? Did you see anything?" I said, "No, nothing was coming out," but I heard it, and I guess they was in there asking questions, and these stomps was right between them on the floor. So I caught that on the recorder because I had my recorder going in. I was there again, did my show from there, and I was sick, and we went up to where the cafeteria was, where the people ate. And they had told us there was nothing in there, no serving counter or nothing like that, but one of the docents had took us up before the show, and we come in through the back door, and they said, "Now this is where the servers would have stood." And we just kind of like walked across the room just a little ways and turned around. They said, "Now this is where the people would have come down getting their food." They said, "If you stand over where the servers were, you won't catch anything. But if you stand on this side, you can catch stuff." So I got sick during the show. I had a fever and felt bad, and we went back up there, and there wasn't anybody in there, just 3 of us. And I said, I'm sick, don't feel good. Do you have any hot coffee? And all of a sudden you get this, yeah.
Oh, wow.
On the recorder, right? I didn't hear it, but I caught it on the recorder. I thought that was real cool. So yes, there is a lot of stuff there in Hillview.
Yep.
I haven't been back there though for probably 3 years, maybe.
That's probably the last time we saw you up there.
Could have been. I think Cat Cloco was with me at that particular time, and
that was it. Yeah, Cat was. Yep.
Yep. And we were sitting there in one of the vending areas. I think.
Yeah.
I think we was there, and I think there was a couple other vending tables in there. Wasn't just a few of us in that one room.
Mm-hmm.
So, excellent place though. I'd like to go back there sometime, but no time soon. So, investigating then, you've done these other places. What kind of evidence was you getting at some of these other places?
At the Greene County Historical buildings, they had some outbuildings, and me and one of the other investigators were sitting in there asking questions. I had the recorder going, and we didn't hear this with our own ears, but we caught voices on the recorder answering our questions, which was pretty interesting.
One was what are you doing, redding up, man?
Yeah, my friend asked, "What are you doing?" And the answer was redding up.
Tell them about the church in Erie.
Oh yeah, another investigation we did. It was a church in Erie with our friend Pastor Robin Swope. He invited us up to do a private investigation. The church is known to be haunted. It's probably about 100 years old. And when he invited us up, it was just me, Brian, and Robin. We went into the church and he locked the door, so we were the only ones in there and nobody could come in. And he's walking us around through the church and telling us the different things. And he asked if we wanted to see the foundation of the original church when it was built. It was in the basement. And we said yes. So we went down the stairs, and big metal, the heavy doors that that have the push bars on them. Mm-hmm. Went down. There was a community room down there with a kitchen, and then there was a little room off to the side, which was the boiler room. And then past that, there was a little, I don't want to say a hole in the wall, but it was like a half a door. And underneath there is where you can see the foundation, the original foundation of the church. While we were in that room looking at the foundation, we heard footsteps coming down the steps where we had come down, and the door was rattling. We got spooked. I was spooked. And we said, "There's somebody there." So it says, "No, there's nobody there." And it's like, "Yeah, somebody's trying to get in the door." We went around, when it came out of that room, went around the corner, checked the door. There was nobody there. But we distinctly heard footsteps. Somebody was coming down the steps, and someone rattled, or something rattled that door.
Rattled the doorknob or the door?
The door. The door. The push bar. It had the push bar. Open the door, and you can hear them trying to push on it. It didn't open the door, but it was like they were trying to open it but couldn't open it.
Okay.
And that was the doors that we had come through moments earlier.
Wow.
And one of the other interesting investigations we did was a house. It was a private home in was it Rochester?
Rochester.
And they had the people that lived there, they had started renovating the basement. So all of a sudden they started to have this paranormal activity, like lights were shutting on and off, right? This is a while ago, so I'm trying to remember. So Terry was downstairs with the founder of one of the groups that we were in, and I was outside talking to the gentleman, and we were standing next to one of these, it was a round,
it was a pool.
It was a pool, but it was one of the ones that
like a blow-up pool.
A blow-up pool.
It was a bigger pool. It wasn't a kiddie pool, but it was a bigger one. Probably about 3 feet deep.
Yeah. So I'm standing next to the pool talking to the gentleman, and all of a sudden, it almost looked like, and it was probably about maybe 2 feet from us. So I was looking at the guy. He didn't do it, or I didn't do it. There was like looked like something was pressing down on the pool, and it was in the shape of a V, and all the water started to rush out of it. The only way that water could come out of there is if somebody pushed it down to the level that the water would rush out. You know what I mean? And It was like a V shaped. And me and him were looking, the water was gushing out, and then all of a sudden it slowly went back up. It slowly decompressed, and the water stopped. I mean, it was like literally, we're like looking at each other. It's like he didn't do it or I didn't do it, because we were looking and talking. Something pressed that pool down, and that water came out, and then it just decompressed. I mean, I was like shocked. I'm like, wow. Those are two of the instances that really, but we didn't catch anything on camera at the time. I think you had the camera downstairs.
I was in the house, yeah.
And she was taking pictures, and it was just, those two instances right there. And then I had one other instance where I was working at a local Dollar General in our area, and I would have to go back at night. I worked there part-time for about 4 or 5 months. And so I went back there to shut the lights off, because I worked, closing shift. And I'm going back to where the lights were. The lights were in the back of the building. You had to go around this little corner. And twice I'm walking, and I see some kind of shadow behind me. And I looked, and I thought it was my boss. But there was nobody there. So it happened twice within like a week and a half. So one night we were getting ready to close up, and we were stocking some shelves. And I asked my boss, I said, "You ever have anything weird happen here?" And she says, "Oh, yeah, that's the ghost George. We call him George." And I said, "Where do you see him?" She goes, "Oh, right back there in that corner." I says, "Well, that's where I saw that shadow twice." So we actually were able to get in at night for, about 20 minutes. 2 other people with us, and we used our equipment, our EMFs. We didn't come up with anything, but it was interesting. I only had those two. Like I said, I was walking back there, and sure, it looked like there was a figure or a form in back of me out of the corner of my eye, and I turned, and nothing was there. And it was a weird feeling. You could feel like almost like somebody was there. So those are the 3 instances that we've had, with the paranormal, I guess you could say, the ghost hunting field.
Wow.
That's a lot more than most people have, because usually it's never that physical.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That pool one really gets me.
Yeah. That's neat when you catch stuff like that, though.
It is. It's very interesting. It's unexplainable, but interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people, there's some people that are really good at getting EVPs, and some people are really good with catching some anomalies on photographs. And then there's a few that seem to have this sort of almost like a ghost battery, that the activity just gets physical. It's amazing that you can do that.
We just wish we could have caught it on tape or something. One of the things that we've done is we've done a lot of infrared photography, and we've taken a ton of pictures, and unfortunately we've never caught an apparition. One of the researchers that we know was up in Gettysburg, and he was using infrared photography, and I think he was at Devil's Den, I believe. Wasn't he Devil's Den?
Yeah.
And with his infrared camera, he was able to catch what looked like the back of a Civil War soldier, but only the top half of him. It was only in one frame, and that's what got me interested in the infrared photography. But so far, nothing as far as results. I've even used it actually out in the woods for Bigfoot. If some people say these creatures are interdimensional, or maybe they come from a different spectrum, maybe you're able to catch them in that spectrum. I've done that with even in Bigfooting, and I've so far I'm batting 0 for maybe 200. But hey, you have to try. an experiment and do different things to try and catch evidence. And if you don't, that's fine. At least you can say you tried it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but infrared is a really good, if nothing else, for debunking it. If you can tell it's a real person back there, or at least it's some sort of warm-blooded creature.
Yeah, recently we were given a full spectrum camera, and we've only used it twice. We got it last year, and just recently I got a full spectrum camcorder, so we're going to try that out too. I don't think a lot of people have gotten things in full spectrum, but I think it's still worth a shot to do that also.
Yeah.
How is the resolution on those cameras? Are you able to take it outside and get some relatively good shots of, say, objects in motion?
Well, the time that we used both times we used the camera, they were outside, and it's good resolution. Now, when you take the pictures, they appear like a pinkish in the full spectrum. And we did that last year at Shades of Death Road in Washington County. We were out there with our friends Dave and Carrie, and we stopped at this one hollow where I think they believed that there was the spirit scene in that hollow. And we took a bunch of pictures in full spectrum, and we analyzed them, and we didn't get anything. But they're just pink. They have like a pinkish hue to them, but the resolution was good. You can tell the woods and everything. But if we were thinking, hey, if there is we did that during the day. That was during the day, and maybe you get lucky and you're just at the right place at the right time, and it happens. Like that gentleman, I believe, who took that photograph has never caught anything since. I believe it's like almost like a once in a lifetime shot. I think a couple other people have gotten some things with it, but I think it's very rare to catch. If you can catch an entity or a ghost on camera, especially like a full figure or even a half of a figure, I think it's very it's rare.
Very. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that would love to set up just constantly running cameras, because it seems to me that that's probably about the only way you're going to catch anything, unless you happen to be in the right place at the right time and all the stars align. And
well, if you ever watched that, is it called Paranormal Evidence on Tape? Is that what it's called?
Something like that.
Paranormal Caught on Camera.
Yeah.
They have some compelling things on there. Now, again, could some of that be faked with wires and things? Yeah, some of it, though. I mean, boy, some of it seems like it'd be hard to fake. So, I've seen some of the cryptid footage, and I don't believe it. But, maybe you get lucky. I mean, with all the people with cameras and with the different settings you have, and and with the surveillance cameras now, they're all over the place. I think people are starting to get lucky. Now, this is also after thousands and thousands of hours of those cameras being there. That's what people got to realize. And you might get lucky. If there is an entity, you might catch something. I mean, I'm pretty impressed with the show. Actually, I don't know what your guys' opinion on that is.
I look at it as entertainment.
Yeah, it's kind of that way. Is that with most TV shows, with most videos even, unless you know the person and know their reputation, it's really hard these days not to think that something's been altered.
Yeah.
When it comes to footage. I think.
Oh, did we lose people?
Nope.
Oh. I thought I did there.
Everybody's here.
Well, it's very hard, I think, to actually capture something with a camera. I mean, I've seen pictures that was taken that is probably authentic. And I'm all the time, like when I go to Gettysburg, I'm all the time taking pictures out on the battlefield and never have caught anything. I know people does catch stuff like of soldiers and stuff like that. Now, I take that back. I did catch something on the battlefield. It was a drizzly rain, and I'd stopped. It was under the tree and had my camera, video camera. And I was just panning out on the battlefield. And I never even noticed it. But when I went back and was looking at it, standing out by one of the picket fences way out on the battlefield, you can see a soldier out there, and you can see his cape that was on and pulled back, and you could see the red on the inside of the cape.
Wow.
Whether I don't think that it was real because it was early in the morning, and I don't think it was going to be having any kind of parade or anything out there on the battlefield in it drizzling rain. And he was the only person there. So if I just accidentally happened to catch something, that's great. But I have, like I say, I never even seen it when I was panning with the camera. So I don't know. But it is there. You can see it. So
That's interesting.
yeah. And if you look on my Facebook page at my photos, I believe I've got that up on there somewhere. So
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. I'm interested in seeing that.
yeah.
That's what I'm interested in the ghost phenomena for, is the actual pictorial evidence or video evidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of ironic. Out of everything we research, ghosts are the thing I believe in the most. Okay, but it also would ultimately be the hardest to ever prove.
True.
And I think most people do either believe in ghosts, or they know somebody who's seen a ghost, or it's it's still the most popular, I believe. But at least with the cryptids, conceivably, if Bigfoot exists, someone's going to find one, dead or alive, and you're going to have proof. If we're being visited by UFOs and extraterrestrials, and one could land and come out and talk to you. I mean, basically, you could prove that. Or if one crashes, allegedly one did in Roswell in 1947. Everybody knows that story. So you could technically prove that also. So, but the ghost, I don't know how you could ever really prove that there's a ghost. And again, I'm going against what I'm even saying is I believe it, that the ghost, ghosts are there. I believe in that phenomena the most, but it's also the hardest thing to do to ever prove.
Right. And the most evidence that I get is through EVPs.
Yes.
Not just a knock or something like that. We did a house in Franklin, Ohio. Supposedly there was a kind of a darker entity in the house, and there was a little girl that was in the house. And there was three of us sitting in the living room. One was a medium, and I was trying to get this little girl to come out and talk to us. And eventually, the medium, Lynn Bell, all of a sudden she said she misses her mommy. And as soon as she said that, my recorder picks up a little girl saying, "Mommy."
Huh. Well.
Now that's interacting, because Lynn Bell said it first, and then you get the recording. Well, I'm trying to still talk to the little girl. And eventually Lynn says, "She's standing right in front of you." I said, "Oh." So I'm trying to talk to her, and I'm getting my camera out because I'm going to try and take a picture of her. And Mark, who's the other one that was there, said, "Honey, can Henry take your picture?" And my recorder picks this little girl up saying, "I'm smiling." Now, a little bit later, I'm still trying to talk, and Lynn says she's not up here anymore. That darker entity has come into the room, and she don't like it, and she's in the back. My recorder picks up the little girl again saying, "Hiding."
Wow.
Now, that is interaction. And it wasn't none of us sitting there saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a spirit somewhere or another, some way. And it was intelligent because it was answering, just communicating to the questions and stuff that we were saying. So
yep.
I like, that's probably the most reaction that I've had with a spirit like that. other than getting them to say yes or something like that. So I think that's pretty interesting. And then sometimes I guess you can pick up a disembodied voice that you just pick up a spirit saying something. And you ever been to the Bell Nursing Home?
To where?
Bell Nursing Home. It was in Kim Bolton, Ohio.
No.
Okay. We were there, me and Kat, and we was down in the day room part, and we were just talking. And all of a sudden, the recorder picks up a little girl saying, or a kid, it sounds like a little girl, said, "Please wake up." And that was the only thing it picked up. We don't know whether somebody died, she was trying to get him to wake up, or whether she was wanting to go home and had fell asleep and she's trying to get him to wake up. Don't know. That was the only reaction that we had from it. And nobody wasn't even asking questions there about it. So it just popped up. The Bell Nursing Home, though, is no more, so you can't go there to investigate anymore, unfortunately. Barbara? I figured you probably got a bunch of questions.
Well, I'm trying to sort through what they're talking about because you guys are talking about some, stuff that I haven't heard before, which is really interesting. Especially, my mind keeps going back to the cryptos. But one thing that you also mentioned that you're getting into is light anomalies. And I want to touch on that because I find it fascinating because it's not quite UFO, but probably UFO, right?
No, well, possibly, but not necessarily.
We kind of don't know how to explain this. We'll kind of throw like the backstory out on it, right? And then you can read. You want to read this first? You want me to do the backstory on it?
No, you can do it. We're talking about lights like what they've seen in different areas like Marfa, Texas, Brown Mountain, North Carolina. It's been seen in England, other places in the United States. They're just unexplainable lights. They're not like the normal lights in the skies that are associated with UFOs.
Right.
Okay.
Most of them are glowing balls or glowing spheres. Basically, how we got interested, we actually had a couple instances with these lights. I think more me than you. Terry and I were with our friend Dave Roop and several other ones up in Clearfield County. We were on a Bigfoot investigation at night, and you guys, I think I was with Dave, or I was away from you guys, and I looked up in the trees, and there was like an orange. It was a small one. It was like the size of a tennis ball, and I looked, and I just saw it really quick, and it just like went through the trees, and then it looked like it just, not that it disappeared, it just like kept flying. Now, it wasn't a lightning bug. It definitely wasn't a lightning bug. It went too fast. It was round, and it was a solid color of orange. It didn't go, off and on like, lightning bugs do. And the second one was, we were up in Livermore doing an investigation there. And Livermore was an old town that was flooded, and there's a trail runs through there now. And Terry was with the group on one end of the bridge, and we walked all the way down, probably, I'm going to guess, not quite a half a mile, because we couldn't see you guys or your flashlights or anything. So I was with the second group, and we looked down, and it was on the solstice, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was on, which would have been what, June 20th?
20th, 21st.
Yeah, now I believe it was 4 years ago, I think. And so we see this light. It's like a ball, and it looks like it's coming up the trail, but it was like bobbing. It was like it was bobbing back and forth. And I took out my camcorder, and I tried to, I had a night vision camcorder, and I'm trying to focus it and it was was too far away, and then it just disappeared. And it wasn't any of those guys. What it was, I don't know. So after that, people I start talking to people, and they were Bigfooting. I said, they said, you know what? I was out Bigfooting, and I see this sphere. I see this light in the woods. Hey, I saw this light in the woods. I was out Bigfooting. Or, hey, I was out camping. I was out walking the woods. And then I'm starting to read story now after story that all of a sudden, and believe me, I'm not saying that this is part of the Bigfoot phenomenon. I'm not. But that's kind of what made me like, I think we should research this more, because we're already in the Bigfoot field, and we can kind of research two anomalies at the same time when we do it, the lights and possibly Bigfoot. So what are people seeing? I mean, they're seeing something. I know she talked about the Marfa lights and things like that, and there are earth lights, there's swamp gas that could look like light. There's there's auroras, there's ball lightning. There are things that happen real quick, but it's almost like sometimes they're seeing these things and they're sentient. I'm talking about the ones that people see with their eyes. Now, people also catch some of these with their cameras. We're starting right now to take reports, and I just spoke at a Bigfoot conference about a month ago, and I mentioned this, and I says, how many of you seen the lights? And there was 5 or 6 people up there that, even though it was a Bigfoot conference, I was talking about Bigfoot, but I said, this is one of the things we're going to be looking into. Some people reporting that when they're out Bigfooting, or they're out camping, or they're out hiking at night, or just enjoying, out in their backyard, and they're seeing these white spheres, or sometimes they're different colors. They're orange, or they're blue, but they're seem to be mainly white. There's not, for some reason, no one's really researching these things. I mean, I don't know what they are. We're going to try to take some steps and do some things here shortly that maybe we can research it even better. So, but the name of the project is, it's LAE for short, and it's Light Anomaly Exploration. And it's going to deal with a bunch of other things. We're trying to get all the parameters, and we're going to try to do this as scientifically as possible. So it's going to be happening real shortly here. So it's a phenomenon. People are seeing lights. Maybe even in your chat room, if anybody there has seen any of these lights, please contact us, because we'd like to get your report on it and start to get a database of these, seeing if they're seen at certain times, certain conditions, certain atmospheric, certain space. Does it have anything to do with space weather? If we can get exact dates, we can go back and look, and try to maybe get some data on this to maybe present to somebody.
There was one south of Wilmington, North Carolina, a little place called Mako. There was a train track there, and the conductor got killed on the train. Another train, I guess, running into the back of it. You could see a lantern coming down the railroad track, swinging back and forth like the conductor.
Yeah, like it was bobbing. Yes.
Right. And they said the light will get so bright, comes up all the way up to because there's a road that crosses it right there at Mako, crosses the tracks. And people used to gather there all the time, and the light would come right up to the where the road crossed it at, and be shining real bright and then go away. I've been down there before looking for it, never did get to see it. There's no sense trying to go down there now and do it, because since then the railroad tracks has been taken up and they don't see the light anymore. Mm-hmm. If you go to Daytona Beach, Florida, actually it's in Ormond Beach, Florida, which is just north of Daytona on the mainland side, not the coast side. There was a 3-mile stretch of road from the last street light to the park entrance at Tomoka State Park. It was just 2-lane road covered with trees and swamp on each side of the road. You drive up and down that road and turn your headlights off and on. A light will come on either in front of you or behind you, or it'll come on in front of you, go out and come on behind you. It will come up close to you. It'll change shapes. It changes colors, and many people's been killed out there on that stretch of road, looking for the light. They don't know what it is. My grandma, my uncle and them took my grandma out there, and she was like a holy roller from Kentucky. And when they seen it, she told them, do not go back out there anymore. That it was the devil. So you know how that goes. But yes, I've been out there many times, and yes, I've seen it. And yes, it'll go out, come up close behind you. It'll go out, come on in front of you. So it's not a scary thing. From what I understand, because it's been years since I've been there, that the area is kind of built up, so I'm not sure whether you still see the light down there or not. But it's called the Tomoka State Park light, and you can they got stuff on it on the internet about it.
Well, how do you spell that?
Tomoka.
Yeah.
I believe it's TOMOKA.
Okay, that's in Florida, you said, huh?
Right.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to look that up. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the only two that I know of about lights like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
It seems to me that there's
a good thing to research. There's not. I know in ufology, there's it goes back to the Foo Fighters in World War II, where they were luminous spheres. The Americans and the Germans both thought it was one another. The pilots saw them. It goes back into history. I actually got a book, Lightning. It's called Lightning, Auroras, Nocturnal Lights, and Other Luminous Phenomena by William R. Corliss. And it talks about someone seeing this light in the 1800s. I'd have to pull the story up. But the gentleman was riding his carriage, and one was like right along the fence line and hopped to the other side, and then it just disappeared. But it was a ball of light. And there was no storms in the area. You don't think it was ball lightning, and it's just, is it a weather phenomenon, just a natural phenomenon? Are they sentient, or are they spirits? Or are they extraterrestrials? I mean, hey, your guess is as good as mine. I just think if we can start to accumulate some data on it, maybe catch some stuff on, catch it on tape, or, if it comes at certain times or under certain conditions, maybe there's an answer to it. But it's one of the things that we're going to start here very shortly. So,
well, back when I was doing the Tomoka light, it was back in the 64, 65, before I went into service. So back then you didn't have all types of equipment that you have nowadays to be able to go and research stuff like that. So it
seems to me that there's an awful lot of UFO phenomenon now. I believe it's in the Southwest, where they're seeing circles of these lights, not just one. So it's obviously not a weather balloon. And they seem to be evenly spaced apart, but they're circles. They're not bright, flashy lights. It's a constant glow. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of more what you're talking about, right? It's a constant light, not a blinking light.
Yeah, they're constant. Yeah, the ones that we've read about or seen or heard, there is like a solid sphere of light. They're not flickering. They're just one color, and they're on until they either disappear or they fly out of sight. And it's just we're kind of like in a nice position because we're already doing the Bigfoot research, and we know a lot of the research, and we're starting to get reports that maybe the reports wouldn't come out to anybody else that we're starting to get, and people are coming to us and saying, hey, I never told anybody because I'm a Bigfoot researcher, but I saw these lights. And, they weren't out there looking for lights. They were out there looking for Bigfoot, or they were camping, or they were doing whatever. They weren't out looking for lights, and they seen these things. And I think once we start getting it, we're probably going to be surprised by the amount of sightings that there actually are.
Oh, you bring up a really good point. And that is, I'm not sure a lot of Bigfoot researchers would, when they see these lights, even report it to MUFON. Do you think?
Well, we're former MUFON members. We haven't been actually involved in youth for probably 4 or 5 years, right? We have our good friend Fred Saluga who's in MUFON, and we could probably have him help us with some of that. The ones that, like, you know, that we talk to people about, and they're actually in the woods, and they're seen in the woods, and you know, I'm starting to read some articles in newspaper magazines and stuff too that, hey, there was this strange light in the woods, and then it disappeared, or went in the woods and it disappeared. I just don't know.
Well, now, I believe that if you're looking at what looks like kind of solid light at a distance, with the atmospheric and heat and stuff like that, will make it look wavy, or even make it look like it's gone out or something and come back on, stuff like that. Have you also thought about that?
Yeah, this is one of the reasons that I got this one book, is I'm starting to look at it, and I'm trying to research like atmospheric phenomena, and are there conditions, you know, is it because of, you know, maybe the heat, or there's a lot of conditions that can spawn some of this. I'm definitely, that's a definite, but there's still others that they seem to defy, or some people have seen them. It's almost like they come around them, like they're observing them or watching them or even playing with them, and then they disappear. So, I mean, right now, you know, it's just going to take, I think, some years of studying and trying to research a lot of this until we have any kind of statement on it, you know?
So you are compiling that now, right?
What do you say? What was that? I
said,
hear you.
I said you are compiling data on that stuff now?
Yeah, we're just starting now. It's going to be a work in progress, and we're slowly telling people about it. So it's a thing that it'll pick up steam here in the next couple months. You know, we have that horrible thing called life that we all have to do too, so that kind of interferes with our playtime.
Well, now, if people wanted to send you stuff on any things that they've got toward that, who would they send it to, or how would you get it?
Yeah, they can contact us through our Facebook pages, Center for Unexplained Events or Center for Cryptozoological Studies. We also have a page called Strange Tales of Beaver County. And then our email is Center for Unexplained Events at gmail.com and Center for Crypto Studies at gmail.com. So there's several ways they can get in contact with us.
All right. You'll have to keep us up to date on how you come along with that and different things that you find on it.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, it's going to be, we're trying to set certain parameters now, what we, trying to get exact dates, at least on the sighting end of it, trying to get exact dates and times and looking at conditions. So it's going to be interesting. So it's going to take a lot of work. So it's something that's just going to be like a long-term project, but we're excited to be starting it.
All right.
Yeah, again, it kind of goes back to I think people would be more apt to report just a light anomaly rather than trying to, I think ufology still has a sort of stigma attached to it. People don't want to admit they saw a UFO, but are more than willing to admit that they saw a light anomaly that they can't explain.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
So, do you think that there's still in the paranormal crypto world a stigma attached where you're probably only hearing the tip of the iceberg on a lot of stories? Because people still think that if they start talking about the stuff, people will think that they're a little crazy.
I think that's more so in the crypto field with some of the other, the stranger creatures. I think the ghosts have been more out in the open. within the past several decades. They're more acceptable. UFOs have become more acceptable in later years. In the crypto field, Bigfoot, with the shows that are on TV now, is becoming more and more acceptable. But then some of the other creatures that we've been investigating, like the dogmen, the winged entities, those are still, I think, a stigma is carried more so with those than the others.
Yeah, if you had to put in like a pyramid form, and we were talking about this earlier about what's provable, what's probably provable, etc. It seems to me that the top of the list that could be the most provable would be either UFOs or cryptos, because at some point you're going to meet one or find bones.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, you can actually, produce a specimen, or, if you ever do have alien contact from UFO that comes down or anything, yeah, there's your proof. So ghosts, again, to me, one of the most believable out of all of them. I just don't know if you could scientifically ever prove that a ghost exists. I mean, I believe me, I wish we could. I'm sure there are people out there that are maybe doing some certain experiments using equipment that maybe they can, and I think any of those three, if they were ever proven, that's pretty huge to science, in my opinion.
So I have to ask you.
We may not meant to be to find these. As human beings, we might need mystery in our life. We might need this. The boogeyman in the woods, or these things in the sky. Maybe our psyche needs that. Maybe we need something, in a world getting smaller with technology, we may need this still in our lives.
Yeah, an unknown. Yeah. So I have to ask you, both what got you started in all this, what event was there that said, oh, I really want to investigate this more, or I finally believe that there's something to all of this?
I had experience with ghosts. I guess it was more of a poltergeist growing up as a child in the house. I would be getting ready for school and do my ironing downstairs and leave, my stuff on the ironing board until morning. And I'd go downstairs and things would disappear and then they'd reappear. Maybe days or a week later, I've heard footsteps in the house when I was babysitting my brother and sister. They'd be in bed sleeping. My parents were out and something was walking in the hallway, but nobody else was in the house and they were sleeping. And then I also was interested in the In Search of series that was on TV in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what got me interested. I found everything like that fascinating.
Wow. Did you ever go back and research the house that you lived in as a child to see if there was anything there? Sort of like
no,
a forensic?
My mother still lives there.
Oh.
I don't think she'd want me to do that.
We can do it, though, if you want.
Yeah, I don't think she'd let us.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that doesn't want people to come to actually investigate because they're afraid that they might actually find something.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I grew up, in the 70s, and I grew up watching the UFOs, monster movies. I was just enthralled with all of it. And I would buy, there was, in the 70s was very big for UFO magazines. There was UFO Report, Official UFO. There were the documentaries, like on Bigfoot was Legend of Boggy Creek. And the one that really got me was Mysterious Monsters with Peter Graves in 1976. And I was interested in UFO phenomena before, but that really got me with the cryptids was Bigfoot. Was that show? They had Bigfoot, the Yeti, and the Abominable Snowman. And one of the scarier parts was the lady it was in California. The lady was sitting on her couch, hears something on the porch, and this big arm comes through the window, and then that hooked me. I'm like, I was scared and like intrigued at the same time, and I'm like, wow, this, as a kid, it's like this could be a monster, a real monster, instead of a Hollywood monster, like I grew up watching, and just been hooked ever since. I just wanted to know more.
I think the funniest thing about the whole Peter Graves and Mysterious Monster was his brother, James Arness, played the Thing.
The Thing, yeah. Still the original, still a classic. And I like the first remake, too, with Kurt Russell. I could talk sci-fi movies with you and horror movies all day, believe me. As my wife knows, as we get ready to go see Avengers Endgame next week and then Godzilla at the end of next month.
Wow. Yeah. Growing up, I was always afraid of anything dealing with ghosts or anything like that. You couldn't get me. If somebody said that place is haunted, you couldn't get me in 100 feet of it. I just, I was always afraid because my mom and grandma and them come from Kentucky in a old spooky looking place, and they was always talking about they called them haints, and you couldn't get me to go down there to those places. Ain't no way in the world. So how did I end up being into the paranormal? I don't know. My wife was watching Ghost Hunters and begged me to come watch it with her. So I went one time and watched it with her, and they had, I guess it was a new piece of equipment called the K2 meter, and they would be asking questions, and all of a sudden these lights would light up, and I thought, wow, if that works and they're really communicating with a spirit, that might be pretty interesting. Still was scared, but that might be pretty interesting. So I started looking to see if they had some chapter around here of ghost hunters, and they didn't. But I found a place in Kentucky called Kentucky. I forget what it was called, but anyway, they had a chat room, which is what this is right here, Para X, and I got into it, and every night I started being in there after work, man, because people would be in there talking about different things and playing live shows and everything. I got hooked on it, and Dave and him finally asked me, said, how would you like to have a show? I said, who, me? I don't know nothing about that stuff. Anyway, they talked me into it, and I've been here ever since. And so I like going to different places and investigate, and I'm still scared, though. So
I'm more scared of the living.
Yeah, well, true.
No kidding. We talk a lot about different types of equipment in the paranormal, but Bigfoot hunting and cryptozoology investigations, what are the primary tools and equipment that you take with you? Because I have never gone crypto investigations. I've done paranormal, but what do you take with you on an investigation when you're out in the field?
Well, we use night vision because we're out at night looking, especially for Bigfoot. We have a parabolic mic, which amplifies this. Which you point in a direction. It's a directional. You can hear. It brings sound up so you can hear it. We use a thermal, which they also use in ghost hunting. We just got a thermal a couple years ago, and a tape recorder in case we hear anything. I try to tape it. The thermal is interesting. We just got one several years ago. We still have the little one that hooks to your phone, the thermal seek, but this was a bigger one. And unfortunately, we actually used it on a lot of the ghost investigations now, and so far nothing. No. Going back to the ghosts is when we went back up to the church in Erie with our friend who's a sensitive, and she claims she can see the spirits. When we were in the actual church, I was, I was in front of her scanning the, all the pews and everything. And she said, well, there's one sitting here next to me. Well, I said, where? She says, right next to me. So I'm pointing right next to her. I'm like, I don't see anything. I was like so hoping I could have caught like a form, because I could have snapped a still picture. I don't have a video with it, but I was so hoping, if she would say, hey, there's one right in the corner, boom, I get it. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, I guess. But we're still trying. I love using the thermal. I love using it in the woods, and caught some animals and things, but not the big hairy guy yet.
You haven't caught him yet, huh?
Well, it makes you kind of wonder, though, because if obviously they must be warm-blooded, but if it's possible, say like that gargoyle creature, if it's more like a lizard in nature, and the thermal isn't going to pick it up in the same type of manner that it would with a warm-blooded animal.
Yeah, this is true. Excuse me.
I'm not sure what you do.
Yeah, I didn't catch it either.
Yeah. What's that?
He said that's true.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what else you could use in situations along those lines, right? I mean, it's possible that even with UFOs, we're convinced that they must be, carbon-based mammals like us, which warm-blooded, and they may not be.
Wow.
Yeah, could be different races of aliens too, and you don't know what they are.
Yeah, depending on what planet or what universe they're from, what they could be made out of something totally foreign to us.
Yeah, I mean, Star Trek got it sort of right that silicon would be the next life form or type of basis for life form, and it probably won't show up in a meter the same way.
Yeah, we may not have an instrument that's even conceived yet to pick anything like that up.
Which is true, because they're just now developing equipment and stuff for paranormal investigating.
Yeah, we just watched a show the other night. It was In Search of Monsters. They were going after the Mothman, and they were using a device called, was it the REMBot? Right?
REMBot.
REMBot. Yeah. It was a device, and I'm sure you guys have heard about it. And it supposedly generates its own field, but if anything comes in that field, the lights go on. Have you guys used that yet, or know about it?
I know about it. I haven't used one.
Do you know people that have had success with that? Because that might be on our radar down the road too.
I haven't heard anybody say anything about that.
Okay.
Success or not, yeah. But let's go back to Mothman for a moment. And I don't know how much that you've actually been able to investigate the area around Point Pleasant, especially the, is it a munitions storage area that it supposedly was first sighted in?
The TNT area, it's known as.
Okay.
We've gone down to where they call them the igloos, where they stored the ammunition at. We've been down there and investigated at nighttime.
It's a pretty creepy place down there at night. You got to admit. I mean,
we didn't find anything.
But
nothing came.
Is that area known for other cryptids other than Mothman?
Well, Point Pleasant, they had a lot of UFO sightings down there. Around there, I believe there's been some Bigfoot sightings. I'm trying to think what else. West Virginia's had like the sheep squatch. They've had the Flatwoods monster. They've had a lot of different. I think the Grafton monster was another one in West Virginia. They've had quite a few other cryptids in West Virginia. I'm not sure is exactly right around in Point Pleasant, but it is a weird area. If you ever get a chance to go down there and investigate it, it's definitely worth your time.
I haven't been able to get down there yet. Yeah, because it's interesting that, I mean, if you go back to the Mothman lore, that it's seen around times of tragedy, and I find that fascinating in itself, as it seems to be sort of like a harbinger of disasters. But if there's another type of cryptid that does the same thing, and you wonder if it's a cause and effect thing, with, say, like Mothman.
Do you think that might have been something trying to warn people?
Or it caused it.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. Some people have linked the Mothman to the bridge going down,
and others have linked it to it warning of the bridge coming down.
Allegedly, there was a winged creature in Chernobyl before the disaster happened. So, could be. Just, I know these other creatures, they were seen all across the world and, the United States and the world, and nothing really bad happened. So maybe it was just that one incident or a couple incidents. But, I think the Irish have the creature called the Banshee, who, forewarner of death. So maybe this could be like a Banshee or type thing.
All right. Craig, that's in the chat room, he's from Gettysburg, and he's one that was taking us around and giving us all the history, and he's a great friend. He's also was a co-host here on Paranormal View too. He said that he does have one of those REM pods, and he said they really work good. So you might want to think about that.
Yeah, tell him I said thanks. I think we are going to add that to our research equipment here, maybe in a couple months. So I first I heard about it because I don't really keep up with the ghost field as much, and I really should keep up more with I want to keep up with the technology on it is what I really wanted to do. And when I saw it on that show, I looked it up. So it's something that, like I said, it generates its own field, which is very interesting in itself. So that could be something that we use even in this project.
Right. So no telling what it'll pick up. Our time's just dwindling right on down, Barbara.
I know.
So, so you're doing more into the light anomalies right now. Have you been to some of these places to actually look and see if you can see some of the lights?
No, we were at Livermore. We intend to hopefully go back there and reinvestigate that. And some of these other places, I guess we would put them on our list to go eventually. But
our bucket list.
Yeah, our bucket list
bucket
right
list.
now. Our bucket list and our budget list don't exactly equal, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, if you look that stuff up, I don't doubt that there's probably lots of areas that has lights. A lot of them, if you find where trains has derailed or had accidents and people got killed, a good possibility you might even see lights from those. And whether it's spirits warning people or letting people know that they're there or something's happened, I have no idea. So maybe you can find something out on your research.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it is I think on a lot of stuff that we do, we don't have answers. The old saying is, I think there's a saying out there, I know that I do not know. So I'm pretty good at that. I know that I don't know. So we just try to gather as much information. Maybe if we add a piece to the puzzle down the road, somebody else can figure it out. Somebody a lot smarter than us. So it's just, I think if we all try to share and just, put out what's out there, maybe somebody somewhere might crack some of these anomalies.
That sounds interesting, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you stop and think about, there's there might be a tide somewhere down the road that nobody's figured out yet. And if you build up a big enough or thorough enough database, who knows what somebody down the road's going to be able to make of it. I think that's the long run shot of this.
Yeah. Maybe we can have some more, encounters ourselves. And although that doesn't prove anything to anybody, sometimes you just need your own self-validation, and don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you spend a lot of time and money, as we have in this field, I think if we can even prove it to ourselves, I'm fine.
Right.
And, then whenever we ride off into the sunset, then we'll at least know that we tried, and maybe we have a little bit of evidence.
Now, you've read some. How much research have you done, like on the Marfa lights and stuff like that, other lights?
Well, we're just actually starting that. We compiled. We're starting to compile like areas, and like there's the Brown Mountain Lights, Marfa, Texas, all over the world. I think there's the Min lights. Those are in Korea, I believe. There's the Naga lights in Japan.
Right.
There are areas around the world that people see these lights regularly at the same spots. So, is it something in the ground? Is it quartz? Is there something special in the ground with maybe there's
Geology.
A space? What?
Geological.
Yeah, geological. That maybe at certain times there's a space event, or there's a weather. The weather might have something to do with it, along with the geology. Maybe it all formed together to certain places to form these. Maybe it's an interdimensional thing. Even maybe certain ways of energy or something. These things pop up. I mean, I'm not sure until I learn more about the regular, phenomena too. I don't really want to make any statements,
Well, it could be a new atmospheric thing too. I don't know if you're familiar with it. There's a new phenomenon. It's like a purple stretch of like a haze in the sky that weather people have nicknamed Steve.
Huh.
And it's a relatively new. It's not an aurora borealis. And they're not quite sure what's exciting the molecules in the atmosphere, but it turns out like almost like a long stretch, a long cloud of purple mist, so to speak. But
yeah,
it's way up.
That's one I haven't heard about yet.
Yeah, there's fascinating things up there, and you don't know whether or not it's weather change or what. So yeah.
Yeah, you got that, and I wonder how much underground streams and stuff would contribute to something like that.
Yeah, water is a good conductor of like electricity and things like that. So, hey, again, there may be so many different factors that we could never think of them all.
Mm-hmm.
So, even the Earth in geology, I don't think we know everything about our planet, and we know what's in everything that's in the oceans. I mean,
right.
There's just much. I think science sometimes can get very arrogant and think they have all the answers for everything.
Right.
And maybe that's just the Earth giving a little bit of a pushback, saying, "Oh, wait a minute, you don't know everything." So,
right.
It is interesting.
I don't doubt that crystals and minerals and different things like that also would maybe contribute to having an effect.
Yeah. This is why I like to start. I want to start talking about this to more people, getting people's opinions, and the answer could be right under our nose, and you can't. One person can't think of everything. I mean, you need help. You need people talk. You need a dialogue with people. And everything else. Everybody has information that that you don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's we have a magnetic pole shift going on, and you never know what kind of phenomenon that's causing. especially since we're in the northern hemisphere. We're going to see it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a number of things going on.
Yeah.
So
I think they said apparently isn't the magnetic field supposedly changing more and more?
Yeah, it's drifting towards, is it away from Siberia or, yeah. Or, yeah, going in the other direction.
So you wonder, who knows if that has even something to do with it. Magnetics might. It's just, it's like I said, we're just at the very, very opening of this, and it's going to take just to kind of even kind of scratch the surface with it. It's just right now is actually just the announcement stage of it. So we have so long to go with it, and there's other things that in conjunction with it also. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be a fun ride, though.
Yeah.
So, Barbara, have you heard of any kind of lights out on the West Coast out there?
Not that I'm familiar with. We have enough military bases and rocket launches. It's usually what it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Well, sometimes too, you guys have the earthquakes out there, the earthquake lights too, so that happens also.
That's very true. There is a phenomenon that of the earthquake halos.
Yep.
And I think you're starting to get a little bit more of a quake rattles back there as well.
Yeah, we are. Some people think that has to do a lot with they're doing a lot of shale drilling and stuff around.
Oh, fracking, yeah.
Fracking, yeah.
And who knows what kind of energy that's releasing.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting on top of coal still. So, I mean, there may be some processes, geological processes we just don't know about yet.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what effect that's having on cryptids with a magnetic shift, geological shifts. A lot of that could be related, and why we might be seeing more of different types of creatures out there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
all right.
My thought.
This is when you start to research one area, all of a sudden another area opens up. And then when you look in that area, all of a sudden there's another area. So it's kind of like, it's almost like you're in quicksand. Once you get in, you can't get out.
Wow.
Well, I can see from your Facebook page that's kind of seems like the solution or the reasoning that you've come to as well, which is you can't get into one area without getting into a lot of them. Is that true?
I think a good, well-rounded, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's connected.
Is interconnected too, and I think when you only focus on one thing, now I've been told you should specialize or you should focus on one thing. What's the fun in that? I mean, think about it. I'm like, if I focus all my time and energy on one thing, then I'm missing out on all these other things. So even like with the Bigfoot phenomena, we're starting to do a little bit less of that to go into some other areas, the light anomaly, like folklore and things like that. We're trying to get into because we collect information on all that. We have a huge library downstairs, and when you focus on one thing, you miss out on so many different things and so many different adventures you can go on. So, I never was the person that wanted to specialize just in one specific thing.
All right. We have just about 3 minutes left in the show, and I haven't seen anyone from the chat room with any questions, but other than all the talking that they've been doing in the chat room. So what we're going to do is find out if Barbara has one last question or not. If not, we're going to let you guys give feedback of how people can get a hold of you, how they can contribute to anything they might have as far as your research. And who knows, they might come up with some good stuff. So, Barbara, did you have anything real quick like?
No, let's get right to the heart of the matter. And how can they contact you? And what are your websites?
We have 2 Facebook pages, Center for Unexplained Events and Center for Cryptozoological Studies.
You broke up on that. Start over again.
We have 2 website pages, Facebook pages, Center for Unexplained Events and Center for Cryptozoological Studies. And the emails for those are Center for Unexplained Events @gmail.com and Center for Crypto Studies @gmail.com.
Okay. What we're going to do is I want you to stay on till after we're off. We'll talk with you guys for a minute. Won't keep you very long at all. And give all our stuff out right now. So you can follow us at the paranormalview.com. And Jeff posts a lot of stuff there. Our email is theparanormalview@gmail.com. And you can go to Podomatic, or you can go to the paranormalview.com site and listen to our podcast of older shows. So with that, our time is just about out. And we're going to go ahead and say this is Henry Foister.
And Barbara Duncan.
And we will see everybody next week at the same time. So thanks for taking the time to be with us tonight. So until then, we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. Join us again next week at the same time for more of the Paranormal